Why would anyone design a stadium with no clear roof and 42,000 tons of steel? That's heavier than 10 Eiffel Towers. Just to hold up a building that, at first glance, looks like a pile of spaghetti. And yet, the so-called mess is one of the most meticulously engineered structures on Earth. When Beijing hosted the 2008 Olympics, they wanted a stadium that wasn't just big, it had to be iconic, something that the world would never forget. So they turned to the Swiss architects Herzog de Meuron, who came up with this, a bird's nest. Not a sleek dome, not a classic coliseum, a tangled web of steel beams crisscrossing in every direction, as if the structure was assembled randomly by accident. But here's the strange thing, none of it is random. Every single beam, every curve, every joint was planned with surgical precision. It's a bit like looking at a Jackson Pollock painting. It feels chaotic, but if you zoom in, there's an underlying order you can't unsee. The beams aren't just decoration, they're the roof, the walls, and the support system all at once. Normally, a stadium has columns, beams, and a roof that are separate. But here, the architects merged everything into one giant exoskeleton. But this artistic idea caused a massive engineering headache. How do you build something that looks like it has no pattern, but in reality, has to carry the weight of an aircraft carrier? How do you weld thousands of beams together so precisely that the gaps form perfect ovals for light and air without leaving the whole structure dangerously unstable? And then there was the roof. Originally, the plan was for the bird's nest to have a retractable roof, sliding panels of glass and steel. But halfway through construction, engineers realized the mechanics would be too heavy, too complex, and potentially unsafe. So the design had to be changed midstream, an architectural failure hidden in plain sight. And then there's the real wild part. The stadium had to be earthquake-proof. Beijing sits in a seismic zone. A stadium this size, filled with 91,000 people, has to withstand tremors without becoming a death trap. The solution? The very thing that makes it look random. The crisscross steel distributes loads in multiple directions. It's like holding a bundle of sticks. Push from one side, and the whole bundle absorbs the pressure, not just one stick. The bird's nest acts like a giant shock absorber, flexing just enough to survive an earthquake that would topple a simpler structure. But even with these clever tricks, construction was brutal. The steel itself was a challenge. China had to develop special welding techniques just to handle the enormous joints, each one weighing dozens of tons. And because the design left no room for error, everything had to fit perfectly, like trying to assemble a giant 3D jigsaw puzzle where every piece is made of solid steel. And yet, somehow, they pulled it off. So what looks like chaos is actually order. What looks impossible is engineering at its most elegant. The bird's nest isn't just a stadium. It's a reminder that architecture is where art collides with physics, where human imagination meets the hard laws of steel and gravity. And sometimes when we push those limits, we create something that looks bizarre, but changes how we see what's possible. Because if you can build a nest out of steel, you can build just about anything.